3.
Welcome to
Midnight Circle.
From your friends at House of Whimsical Terror.
A chat about curious topics.
And this week's topic is resistance, revolution, and curious things. And I love this topic, Mary. I'm glad that you came up with this wonderful Midnight Circle.
It just seems so appropriate.
Appropriate for the times, but also
what?
It is our 100th episode.
Woo!
We should have sound effects.
Excited.
Why don't we have little sound effects?
We could have sound effects.
Remember you found all those sound effects and we played with them for like 20 minutes, but we've never used a single one.
You know, you're right.
But anyway.
It's something that we'll grow into.
We will.
Maybe.
We'll get more high tech.
Sure.
So
I don't know.
This is a great episode to have as our 100th episode.
And I want to thank everyone that has been part of our experience these 100 episodes.
Yes.
Yeah, those.
And shout out to our friends all over the world. We have people from all over listening. I think the top 3 are the United States, and then we have Britain, and then we have Ghana. We love the Ghanaians.
Yeah.
But we also have our dear friends in Ireland.
That's right. And all of the folks that have shared their stories and wild experiences.
Yes, and got us up to 100 episodes by sharing those experiences.
Right.
So we're grateful to all of you, every single one of you who's come on the show and told your stories all over.
Yeah. And some of you we look forward to having back also, because we know some of you have more stories.
Yes. Yes, so we need to get those people.
That's right, because we're working toward our next 100.
Yes. To invite them back to the house.
Yeah. So, resistance, revolutions, and curious things.
Mm-hmm.
With all the news that happens around the world being accessible so quickly by the internet, it is perhaps hard to imagine that communication ever happened any other way. But historically, resistance, espionage, and revolution have always offered inventive underground methods to coordinate intentions. We're going to explore some curious elements from revolutions in history.
Mm-hmm.
Revolutions have happened throughout the human experience, often spurred by injustice that can no longer be tolerated by those perceived to have little power. But as Margaret Mead so succinctly put it, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has.
Yes. Beautiful. Yes. What a great quote, Mary. Thank you for including that. I just want to say that our own little rebel, the Doberman, is very excited about his chew toy. So if you hear strange sounds in the background, they are probably not supernatural. They are probably just the Doberman. Natural. Yeah, Doggy Natural.
Doggy Natural.
We're going to start with Mary's favorite revolution.
That is my favorite revolution.
You have a favorite revolution.
I do.
I do not.
I do.
But no, I absolutely love revolutions. But
this happens to be my favorite.
This is her favorite.
Yeah.
So we're starting with the French Revolution. There were many causes to the French Revolution, and perhaps the most obvious was that the old regime was completely unfit to lead.
Imagine that. That sounds so familiar.
Yeah. There was a financial crisis due to regressive taxes and abuse, social unrest as the poor got poorer and the rich got richer, and neglect of duty by the monarchy. This resulted in shortages of food and wine, which would be very important, I think, to the French, and came together in the people's storming of the Bastille. The Bastille was a prison that represented royal authority, and its vanquishing by revolutionaries became a popular symbol of people over power.
Right.
Subsequently, the royal authority was seen as illegitimate, and popular rule was established. Though the Bastille no longer stands, the building is outlined in brick where it once stood, and a piece of it is on display in the Paris Metro, of all places. So I'm going to try to pronounce some of these French names appropriately. So definitely feel free to correct me on our Podbean or on
our email or on our Facebook or wherever.
Anywhere you want.
Anywhere you want.
Yes. So the end of the Ancien Régime came with the execution of the monarchs, King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette, by guillotine. Place de la Concorde, oh, I know I butchered that one, sorry. Or Place de la Révolution became a killing field. When Louis was put to the blade, the crowd dipped their handkerchiefs in his blood as keepsakes.
Right. Wow. It's kind of like, I think we've replaced that with like concert programs or something now. But,
oh, God. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible.
And
it makes you wonder made me wonder, like, where are those handkerchiefs?
Yeah. It's so gruesome, but it's interesting,
gruesome.
All that ancient, not ancient, but old DNA.
Yeah.
So Queen Marie's head was held aloft as the crowd cheered, Vive la République. Oh,
Vive la République.
Easy for you to say. Her body was tossed into an unmarked grave, and as the grave diggers ate lunch, the famous Madame Tussaud made a wax sculpture of the Queen's face. It is believed it was the actual mask that went on display for so many years in her wax museum.
Wow.
Eventually, Marie's body was exhumed and relocated to Saint-Denis. Mm-hmm. It is thought more than 16,000 people were put to death by guillotine across France, mostly aristocrats and anti-revolutionaries.
I think there's a lesson in that.
Oof, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Marie's ghost is. So it has been seen, I guess, repeatedly in the concierge, which is where she was held prisoner. Mm-hmm. And you can see her on October 16th, which is the anniversary of her death.
I see a trip in our future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we need to go there and do some little investigation.
That's right.
Okay, I'm sorry for being, like, obnoxious about
You're not.
my fake French accent.
Well, you were born in France, so.
I was born there, but we left when I was 3, so I have no...
So your French accent is gone.
I have no... If I ever had one, yes. Disappeared.
That's okay, you did a great job.
Oh, you're so sweet. But the French people, I feel like, no she didn't.
Yeah, well... We may get some feedback, but yes. I applaud you.
Or the Canadians, maybe.
That's possible.
All right, so we're going to move on to closer to home. And stuff that we know about pretty more intimately, if that's the right word. So next, we explore the Mexican Revolution, which took place from 1910 to 1920. This revolution ended a dictatorship and established Mexico as a constitutional republic. Many of the revolutionaries were women.
Yes.
Often these women were educated and urban and engaged in politics through their work as teachers or journalists. Mm-hmm. A significant number were soldiers known as soldaderas and adelitas. Mm-hmm. The song is going through my head.
Oh, yeah, huh?
Yep. They embodied the soul of the revolution and were recognized by President Lázaro Cárdenas as veterans in order to receive benefits themselves many years later. One in particular was Maria Quinteras de Meras. Mm-hmm. She participated in 10 battles and was appointed colonel in Pancho Villa's army, where she served for 3 years. She wore men's clothing, a bandolera of cartridges, and fought so fiercely that she was thought to have supernatural powers. Love that. Mm-hmm. She was a superhero.
Yes.
Her marksmanship and heroism were lauded by those who knew her. and those she led into battle. Today, in Arizona,
Yes.
our home state,
Mm-hmm.
the group Las Adelitas recruits, educates, and mobilizes Latinas to participate in politics.
That's right.
Yes.
Super,
And
super wonderful, powerful.
fun fact, my great-grandfather, my aunt just posted his discharge papers from Pancho Villa's army. So I come from revolutionaries on both sides of my family.
This does not surprise me at all.
So,
And we found a tidbit.
Mary found a tidbit from Atlas Obscura about Pancho Villa, which we did not know. My uncle, Teodoro Ramirez, who is an amazing musician and the official troubadour of Tucson.
Yes.
We did an episode with him where he was our guest.
Just recently.
And he talked about the Gadsden.
That's
and we did not know this information that Mary found today on Atlas Obscura. And it's about Pancho Villa. So, as the story goes, and I'm reading this directly from Atlas Obscura's website. So, just so you know, as the story goes, after he was assassinated, loyalists cut off Villa's head and buried it at the site of the burned down Gadsden Hotel in Arizona. Douglas, Arizona, to be specific. He had visited on horseback years before, and his horse had chipped a stair on the staircase. The chip is still there, and we saw it.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's, if you want to go back and look at the Gadsden story and hear a little bit more about the Gadsden Hotel. Oh, you want me to read this rest? When the hotel was rebuilt in the early 20th century, people started seeing apparitions of a tall, headless man in an army suit, believed to be Pancho Villa's ghost. The apparition now haunts the basement, which we've never been to.
Which your uncle talked about.
He did talk about, and also that woman when we stayed there, who was the
she was the bartender.
Talked about some scary.
She was like the
stuff.
only person that would go in the basement that worked there,
and she experienced scary, unexplainable things. So he now haunts the basement and hallways looking for his lost head. How anyone knows the identity of a headless man in an army suit is beyond us. But, well, that's the way the story goes. And that's, end quote, that is all from Atlas Obscura.
So thank you to Atlas Obscura for these fabulous facts.
We love things like that.
No story of resistance would be complete without including the American Revolution. It was a bloody and desperate fight to wrest the dream of an independent nation from the control of a monarch. And the revolutionaries prevailed with the help of the native peoples, the French and the Spanish. Obviously, not alone is the message.
Yes, they had
perhaps one of the lesser known aspects of the revolution, however, was the use of prison ships by the British. The ships were used to detain Americans during the conflict, and many were stationed in and around New York. They were overcrowded, dirty, hot, and rations often consisted of nothing more than flour or suet or moldy scraps. Diseases ran rampant, as it did also in the countryside, with influenza, measles, smallpox, and pneumonia topping the list.
And measles is making a comeback here in the U.S.
And they didn't have bird flu identified back then. But at times, diphtheria or meningitis were also present. No proper bathing facilities led to the outbreaks of typhus or jail fever and spread through the ships by lice and vermin. Prior to vaccines, many of these illnesses were fatal.
Prior to vaccines.
Imagine that.
Oh, yeah.
Smallpox being the first that comes to mind. Many prisoners who tried to escape by swimming ashore were drowned or recaptured when arriving ashore. One's survival was a game of chance. In 1808, a cornerstone vault was erected at the southeast corner of the Navy Yard near 4th Street and Hudson Avenue in Brooklyn. It was there that a public funeral was held to inter the bones that were left on Wallabout Bay of some of those who perished on the prison ships in 13 coffins. Yet despite many losses and desperation, the revolutionaries prevailed so far.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're so far away from all of the people dying around us, you know, before vaccines. My mother's first sister died of whooping cough. And now, you know, we've got protection from that in the form of vaccines. So,
yeah.
All right, this next part, Mary, I'm very excited about because we've been...
This part is just for you.
Thank you. You are awesome. So being a podcast about fantastical tales, our stories would not be complete without some curious happenings. Today, you can visit many places that record the history of America's Revolution, including the old 76 house in Tappan, New York, built in 1668.
I know.
And we were there.
Yes.
It was here in this house, turned pub, where many revolutionaries met. I was excited there because it was, we're there on the same floor, the original floor, and thinking about people like George Washington walking on that same floor in this little pub that's
remarkable.
Yeah.
It's in remarkable repair as well. Like, it's so well maintained.
And we had some very interesting and terrifying experiences when we were there, which we are going to save for a future House of Whimsical Terror. And, but just to say, they have the same recipe for their French onion soup.
Yes.
That they had like from 200 years before.
Yeah, and it's extraordinarily delicious.
It's delicious. And of course I ate that because I wanted something that was so really old and something that people would have eaten back in the day in that spot. So anyway, scary stuff.
I'm not going to talk about.
We'll tell you about House of Whimsical Terror in the near future. Yeah. But right now we are doing Midnight Circle.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell you, it was also the headquarters of General Nathaniel Greene and hosted many of the generals of the Continental Army. But most importantly, it was the prison of Major John Andre, who plotted with the traitor Benedict Arnold to surrender West Point to the British. The major was hanged as a common criminal for espionage on the hill behind the tavern, now called Andre Hill. It is the oldest tavern in America, they say, and being 300 years old just may make it so. Of course, the Revolutionary Age timbers hold the memories of many who passed through, and ghostly happenings have been investigated there. Spectral forms of men, women, and children have been noted in the west side of the restaurant, which used to be Major Andre's prison. Unexplainable cold, dropping glasses, blinking lights, and unusual sounds are heard about the place.
And all the things that we'll talk about in our other episode.
Yes, and those things we personally experienced, we will talk about. Table 2, I hope that's where we sat.
I think that's where we were sitting.
Is said to be the most haunted location if you are in the mood to visit, and I am. Behind the tavern, people have reported otherworldly sounds coming from below ground at the site of where Major Andre was hanged. Once you have finished your food and explorations, you may wish to travel across the river to visit Sleepy Hollow.
New York is so filled with fabulous things.
Scariness.
So much history and so many amazing things. And amazing people who have told stories on our podcast.
Yes, and you have
my relatives
from there,
my people. So all of this to say, first, thank you again, because this is our 100. What is it? It's
100th episode. Woo!
Okay, so the spirit of resistance is a powerful thing. And the power of people taking collective action against oppression, fascism, and corrupt leaders paints a vivid picture of hope for those seeking inspiration in uncertain times. We have only touched upon a few of the many revolutions and stories of resistance from history here, and encourage you to seek out more on your own. They are inspiring, as are the ghosts of the past.
Happy 100th episode, Mary.
Happy 100th episode, Esther. Until next time, thanks for joining us.